Hello, one and all, and welcome back to DanXG, Planet Zoo, and in particular, Hyland Zoo. My friends, last episode is linked above. Feel free to go and check that one out. We basically built a sick little habitat for our flamingos. Very nice. Good episode. People seem to like it. Now, today's episode, I'm throwing it out there from the get-go. Nothing you are going to look at is finished. This is a massive work in progress, but I wanted to share what I've done so far because I have done a lot, but also not only do I want to share what I've done, but I kind of want to talk you through the master plan for this area. And I'm sharing this with you now because I don't know how long it's going to be between this video and the next one, because there's a lot of building that needs to happen. So let me first show you what I've been up to, gang. So as you were all aware from last episode, I said I was going to rip out the Formosan bears. I was going to rip out the pangolin. I was going to think about the restaurant. As you can see, it is still there, but I think I know what I want to do with it. And I wanted a little help with a potential animal for this area. So that's exactly what I did. I essentially just went in and deleted everything. The biggest problem I had with this wasn't actually the habs for the animals. It was the stuff behind the scenes. It was all this. It was a complete train wreck. Nothing was straight. Nothing was built on the grid. It was all over the place, gang. And yeah, it just made for one huge headache, and it felt like I was doing an impossible jigsaw. So the first thing I did was I continued the outside sort of pathway, roads, surfaces. I've added another zebra crossing. We will get round to kind of making this look more curvature. At the minute it just feels very sharp, all the angles, but I will get round to doing that, and I will get round to decorating all the outside, but I'm going to do that right at the very end when the zoo is finished, because let's be really honest, if anyone's done anything like that, it's not that fun because you're not building anything for animals. I basically redid the opening to this part of the backstage. So we do have a new gate. There will be a building here, service building and all that sort of stuff. But for now, I just wanted to get the basics in. So I knew how much space there was, what sort of fencing and all that sort of stuff. So I've done that. We have now stuck a road in up to here. And this bit here was just chaotic, a complete mess. At the end of the day, the road initially when I built this zoo, I was using the actual pathway in the game, and we're not doing that anymore. You know, we're making it look a lot cleaner, a lot more professional. We use plaster pieces to build the roads, and then we stick pathway under the pavement so that they actually walk on the pavement and not in the road, if that kind of makes sense, gang. The backstage buildings, I started doing them and got bored. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not lying to any of you, but I did, because essentially these are replicas of what we've got over at the front of the zoo, and I just got bored of doing backstage, and I wanted to start work on the bears, but I've had to work on this. You're all going to be like, what on earth? I've had to work on the bears and the pangolins at the same time because space was at a premium, and I wanted it all to line up in such a way that you couldn't see any of this from the guest side. And to do that, I needed to know where the pangolin building was going, and then I needed to know how much space I had for the bears, and it was just a huge chaotic mess. Before I show you this stuff, let me just show you what I've done with the actual bears hab. I have ripped all the rock work out. I ripped all the planting out. I've ripped all of the viewing areas. So basically, this was like a 360 hab. It had a viewing station there. There was one on the bridge. There was one here. And there was one like here. So it was like 360. And I just thought it was all a bit much. And it's just not needed. So what I've done now is I've reduced it to 2 viewing areas. Well, technically 3, but it's kind of 2 areas. You've got your bridge still, because I really like the fact that you had this little bridge that you walked over. So I've kept that because I like the little charm of it. But then I've added this. This is a new viewing section. Now, the reason it's all like it is because at the bottom, there's going to be a big glass area, and there's going to be a bit where you're going to be able to view them at habitat level. Okay, and I might even put a bit of it as water. So we like a pool that the bears can go in. These are all things I'm thinking of doing. A bit similar to, if you think back to Tropical Wings, if you've all got good memories, we did sun bears and I did something similar for them. I don't want to replicate that, I just want to do something similar, but, you know, separate it enough that it's its own thing in this zoo. So that's what I've done. As a result of doing this though, I had to rework all the pathway around the restaurant, but the restaurant's getting ripped out at a later date. I'm going to get the bears in, I'm going to get the new animal here, the pangolin, and then I'm going to do the restaurant. That's basically my plan. Yes, that's that. So basically what we're looking at now is pangolin house. So the way this is going to work, so before you used to walk up here and there was like a little glass thing so you could see inside, but you'd have to kind of walk back on yourself and then come round and do this. And the only place to see the pangolins outside was here. Well, now what we've done, or will be doing, because this path is going to get deleted because this habitat's going to be made much smaller to be much more realistic. But now this path will probably come like down here. There will be an indoor area here. So you'll walk up, go through the building, down and out. So it almost kind of is a loop. But there will also be a little viewing area here and a little viewing area here. Just to kind of like add a bit of adventure to it. I'm trying to create something a bit more unique. I feel like I do the same buildings every single time, so I've tried something a bit different. I'm liking where it's going so far. Obviously, I'm trying to get an Asian vibe with this build. The walls are a little high at the moment, I think, but I think it'll work out eventually when we get there. And as you can see, this is kind of like the inside stuff. This is where the indoor bit will be for the pangolins. And then there will be staff access here. So that's to go to backstage. And then this is the door into a little area that will be for our zookeepers. I'm even going to put a window there so people can kind of see in and see what the keepers are doing. And then the keeper gate for the outside is either going to go there or there. I'm undecided where it's going to go yet. But that's basically the pangolins, and that's kind of where they're at. And then where are the bears at? Well, the bears are closer to completion than the pangolins are. Well, at least the inner workings, the inside building of the bears is. From guest face, you wouldn't know that there was a bear hab here. You wouldn't know there was a bear house, I should say, here. It's all cleverly disguised because we're doing a living roof, basically for, like, you know, if you think about green energy and all that sort of stuff. So this will all be decorated in plants and whatever. But this is actually the roof of their sort of indoor area, and so is this bit at the back. And we've done this before, haven't we? And I wanted to do it again, and I thought this was the best way to kind of get around adding some greenery and whatnot. Now, I know you can't add trees and stuff, but bushes and things like that will work and it'll be fine. But the backstage, as I say, was a mess. None of this was straight, so I had to delete every single piece of path and redo it all to get it all straight and on the grid, and then so that the walls and everything would work, because it was gash, it was all over the place, gang, and I hated it. So now what happens is you go down here, and like I say, this is all a work in progress, so use your imagination for some of it. This is the first part of the building. This is more where the kind of staff do all of their stuff. Now, the kitchen for this animal used to be down here, but I've now moved it up top because I think that makes more sense. And I will take you in because it is pretty much complete. I've just got to add tables and all that sort of stuff, storage and all those sorts of things. So this is the first room that you enter. This one takes the zookeeper out onto Hab. Unfortunately, I could not sink the gate. I think that maybe I've dug a little too low for that to work. So I did my best to kind of disguise it. And then we have a double gate here because the animals would be large if they're ever in crates, because they wouldn't work with the single gates that I've got on the inside. So that's kind of like your first initial room. Glass doors, because we would like to be able to see in just in case animals have managed to get out or anything like that. This is the indoors. So we've got nice sort of indoor areas. I do need to put like a little feeding station on these. It's the only thing I forgot was like a little thing on either one of those. But we have started, you know, decorating, putting tiles and all that sort of stuff in. The way I see this is that probably going to have, you know, some work tables underneath the windows. We'll probably put some cabinets in here, I think, like proper cabinets. Really decorate this one up. And then we've got this area in the middle. This here is like to pull that open. And then we've got this little area here with buttons and whatnot to open the other doors for the outside. Lots of ventilation, all that good stuff. And then over here we've got a sink, some cabinets and whatnot. Little bit of work I've done. And then there is a door at the end. This is just for realism, access to an electrical point. There is a grate here, but I'm also thinking of putting a ladder up onto the roof, because the one thing I didn't do was put any access to the first bit of the roof. I'm either going to do it there, or I'm going to put one like here down, but then I'd have to delete all this out, and I think it would actually be easier to put one up onto the roof here. So yeah, that's basically that. And then if we go through and we go out and we get to the outside, this is what the front of it is looking like at the moment. Still needs some work, still needs a bit of decoration, but I was just trying to use some different pieces. I tend to use the same pieces every single time, the same rock pieces, same brick pieces, same wood, and I just wanted to try something different. And I tried this kind of like dry stone, and it's really, you can't change the color of it, but as long as you rotate the pieces properly and you can get it to line up, it's actually really nice. And I think it's going to work really well with some aged stone and some, you know, some really dark woods, and I think it will look really, really nice. The plan is to kind of put some wooden posts in and try and put some like bunting or something, so it's almost like Himalayan. I know we're not doing the Himalayas, but I don't know, just something along those lines. I was thinking Tibetan, but this is Taiwan, so yeah, I'm actually a little bit off there. Probably need to rethink that. And then yep, that's that. This is the roof area. It's the usual stuff from me, just decorations and whatnot. And then over here I've added a little food station. This bear used to be in the middle of this, and so I did want to rescue it and repurpose it, and I'm going to put like a little statue thing there that overlooks the little seating area. This is going to be staff access, so this path will come down, and I'll probably join it there as well, just for a few different exit points. We will plant it all up, and that is essentially what I have done to this point. And I know that's such a work in progress. It's kind of use your imagination stuff, but I wanted to share what I've done to this point, because then I think you will appreciate how much work has already gone into this and how much more needs to go into it. So as I already kind of said, this is where the Formosan bears are going, this is where the pangolin's going. We're going to go for like a touch of Asia, I think I'm going to call it. A touch of, I really like the sound of that, a touch of Asia. And I'm going to do an Asian inspired area. We're going to do some very, very light theming. I'm not going to go crazy with the theming, but I want to try and keep the animals that are all near each other. I want to keep them to similar areas of Asia, but as you go along, the bits of Asia change slightly. So we've got pangolins, we've got the Formosan bears, both Taiwan, and then we've got the binturong over here. You suggested the binturong, a few people did. There was lots of suggestions, but I think actually the binturong will work best because of the Indonesian connection to the Komodo dragon that's in there, and I think that's quite nice. And I'm even going to do this so that we have a small section in here, and then we have the large section here, and it will be joined by some poles, so they'll be able to walk across the pathway, and I think that'll be really, really cool. I think we'll probably have to put some netting or whatever in, I'm not sure, but like, you obviously got to be worried about the animal escaping. I'm not putting like guest gates or anything in. There is a trick you can do with the knoll things so that the guests will be able to walk, but it will act so that they are not escaping. But yeah, we'll do like a two hab type deal for the binturong. Now, I'm unsure, I'm going to again put this out to you, but because the pangolin is much smaller, I'm putting a little seated area in here, right, and I'm going to plant all this up. But I was thinking about another potentially small animal, but I want Asia to begin kind of at this little picnic stop, yeah, so it can't be too large, something sort of in here is what I'm thinking. So if you've got an idea, something that might link to any of these three animals, please let me know. Then what I'm doing over this, it's not going to go in this whole section, by the way, but I have just put it in here, is the Barbarossa. The Barbarossa are going to go here. What I'm going to do with this bit, I'm going to rip all this out. I'm going to put something in here like that's for staff, but I am going to like plant this up because I quite like the fact that this is planted and separate and whatnot, but we'll clean it up and make it look really, really nice. The restaurant's being ripped out. The PFAL will no longer be part of the restaurant. I'm going to get rid of that. Instead, I'm going to do like a living garden, something that you can walk through. And if I can, I might even try to add the butterfly, you know, like the walk-through hab that you have for the butterflies. I might try and add that, remove all the walls, the ceiling and everything, and just build it up like a garden, and then have the butterflies. And it would just, rather than it being a butterfly hab, it will just look like butterflies are in the garden. That's what I'm thinking of doing. Whether or not that'll work, I don't know, because I do want to do a butterfly house at some point in this zoo as well, but that's something I'm thinking. Toilet block's going to be made part of the restaurant. The PFALs are going to be moved in with the rhinos, I think. They can go together, and I was just thinking, where can I just put the PFAL? I'm either going to do that, or I'm just going to do the trick where you sink a couple of plants and have the PFAL just roaming free in the Asian area. I'm really not sure what I'm going to do with them, but I do want to keep them around, but just not in the capacity that they are. And then we do have the rhino over here, the Indian rhino. That's going to stay here. That just needs redoing. We're going to put the Indian elephants in because I've never built an elephant hab, and the whole point of this house was to have rhinos one side, elephants the other. And then the only other thing I want to try and add is maybe the red pandas and the small claw otter, potentially. Just to complete Asia, if I can. Because once we get past the elephants, it's a nice transition into what sort of is sort of a rainforesty Africa vibe at the moment. The bongo and the okapi are going to be moved over nearer the gorilla, I believe. That's what I'm thinking of doing. And then this frees up all this area over here and here for different animals. And then we've got like the savanna-y type of Africa. And then if we have space, we'll do a small South American bit there. And that'll basically be the zoo. You know, that will be it. And that'll be us sort of complete. But because of the way that I build now, it frees up spaces. And so there's more space for different animals. And yeah, I'm really, really excited about the project. I'm loving playing the game again. I'm really excited. And I know this is just a weird, you know, work in progress video. But I felt like I'd done enough to share. And I think maybe by doing this, your opinions, your comments, you might be able to help me take the next step. But we're done, gang. We are done. I'm just going to say goodbye. No cinematics or anything because there's not really much to show you. Subscribe if you're new. Drop a like on the video. And like I've already said, get involved in the comment section and help me with all the bits I could do with some help with. But until next time, peace out, people. See you all later.